Well, Agnes Chow hasn't actually been charged right now, but the police are certainly alleging that they are investigating allegations that she has breached Hong Kong's national security law, and more specifically, that she has allegedly colluded with foreign forces.
So she could have run into trouble potentially in the future with the law. Were you surprised by her decision to not return to Hong Kong?
Well, most of us didn't even know that she was in Canada. It's well known that her passport had been confiscated by Hong Kong authorities before. So I think a lot of us were pleasantly surprised to hear that she's safe and well in Canada. And to be honest, given what she's faced in recent years, it's a completely sensible decision on her part to decide not to return.
Yeah. She'd been jailed, of course, in the past and had been very active trying to protect Hong Kong's democratic rights, had she not?
That's correct. And in Agnes Chow's case, she's probably the leading spokesperson for the Hong Kong democracy movement when it comes to Japan, because she's one of the few democracy activists in Hong Kong who speaks fluent Japanese. And given Japan's important role in East Asia's geosecurity and geopolitics, that's certainly something that China cares a lot about.
Kevin, what might the ramifications be of her decision not to return to Hong Kong?
Well, it means that for her staying in Canada, that she can live free at last, and that she doesn't need to worry about the possibility of someone knocking on her door at 6 a.m. in the morning, wanting to search her home again, wanting to arrest her, or maybe not release her at all. So not returning is probably the sensible thing to do for her.
But for some people that are being investigated under the national security law, they can even have international arrest warrants be issued for them.
That's correct, and I'm one of them, actually. But the reality is that Canada, like Australia, is one of the places that have suspended extradition arrangements with Hong Kong and never had any extradition arrangements with China. So, and it's clear that both Canada and Hong Kong are democratic countries, and we really care about our rule of law, and our free speech and the like.
More broadly, potentially could her family members or associates of hers face fallout because of her decision not to return?
Look, right now, the democracy movement has pretty much been silenced in Hong Kong, either through people leaving or through people being locked up. And all I can say is I respect the choices of each individual within that movement as to whether they decide to stay and face the consequences, or whether they decide that for whatever reason, personal safety and so on matters more to them. And indeed, in the case of Agnes Chow, I would also add that whatever she decides to do going forward, whether she decides just to be a quiet student in Canada, or whether she decides to become active again in speaking out for Hong Kong, that's a matter for her, and we should respect that. She's been through hell and back, and been through a lot, and has been harassed a lot in Hong Kong, and she has earned the right to make decisions in her own interests.
Yeah. While it's completely understandable for her own safety not to return, what do you think this does for the momentum of the democracy fight in Hong Kong?
Obviously, we don't know what her situation is insofar as Hong Kong is concerned when it comes to family and that sort of thing. But whatever the situation is, it's clear that the decision not to go back to Hong Kong is one that she's thought long and hard about before she decided to proceed with it.
Yes, and, you know, you went through similar experiences. From your perspective, is it also a realisation that potentially at this point in time there's very little one can do to counter China's control of Hong Kong?
Well, the thing is, one can always say, oh, there's very little that one can do. But then again, the world, it moves very quickly, and we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And so if we just say, okay, that's it, we're just not doing anything anymore, then it may be that if the world changes one day, then we might not be in a position to make the changes towards democracy for Hong Kong happen. Whereas if we keep plugging away at it, it might be a fruitless myth of Sisyphus type exercise for many years to come. But who knows, one day things might change for the better.
Yeah, so it's quietly watching to see eventually, potentially, what type of influence you can bring to bear. Good to talk. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you very much.